Our gospel reading for the lectionary for April the 3rd, 2022 comes from the Gospel of John, chapter 12, 1 through 8. The resurrection of Lazarus has already occurred. Jesus is now staying with Lazarus and Mary and Martha. Now, Lazarus is really only mentioned in John. He's used as an illustration in Luke, but as an individual only in John. Now in Luke, we have Martha and Mary. Remember, Martha is busy serving and wonders why Mary is just sitting at the feet of Jesus. In this story, we hear that Martha is serving, but the focus is on Mary and what she's actually doing at the feet of Jesus. She's pouring expensive oil on his feet and wiping it off with her hair. This is an incredibly intimate scene. The feet are considered one of the lesser members. Not too surprising, walking with sandals in the middle of dust, in the middle of animal excrement and all the rest, they get very dirty. In fact, the goal of someone who is greeting people, the servant, is to wash the feet. It's so intimate that Peter doesn't want Jesus to wash his feet. That's too demeaning. It's too uncomfortable for that washing of the feet. When Ruth lays down with Boaz, it says that they uncovered their feet. They became intimate with one another. They exposed their most vulnerable side to one another. Here's Mary pouring expensive perfume on Jesus' feet and washing it with her hair. The hair, that crowning jewel, another sign of intimacy. We see that today in the strict Muslim observance, where the hair is always covered so that no one can see the crowning glory. And yet, in this scene, we have Mary, who's gone down on her feet, poured oil on his feet, and is wiping it off with her hair. I can only imagine how uncomfortable this must be. Just imagine being at a meal and then having somebody just come over and start washing the host's feet. That's just not appropriate. Especially since it's not under a table, but everybody reclines to eat. Everybody reclines to sit down on large cushions. And so this is a kind of uncomfortable experience right here. I'm wondering if Judas is as much worried about the cost of the perfume as he is so uncomfortable and ashamed by the situation. John points to this as an indication by what motivates Judas. Money not only motivates Judas, but doing what is proper, what is supposed to be done, motivates Judas. A lot of indications are that Judas took the money to betray Jesus, to force Jesus to reveal his full divinity to the world. He had done miracle after miracle. He had raised the dead. He was a power to be reckoned with, and yet he refused to initiate and take center stage. Judas forces the point. He also gets paid for it. If money was the only issue, though, Judas wouldn't have cast away the money and hung himself. There is another motivation, and that is Judas thinks he knows what is the proper way and the proper path. And having a woman in the company of men, pouring expensive perfume to wipe off feet is not the way it should be done. And Jesus goes over and says, the poor you will always have with you, but me you only have for a short time. Now, some have pointed to this as the inevitability of poverty. That's not really where Jesus is focusing on. Jesus is focusing on the fact that he is getting ready to die. He knows the time is at hand. Mary, because of the perfume she's using, knows the time is at hand. This is all the indications for John, another one of those signs that the end is about to begin. Would you have been perceptive as Mary? Understood what needed to be done, that this might be the last time you might see him? What act of love would you do to show how much he means to you and how much his presence has meant to you in your life? Would you be like Judas? Worried, anxious. Things are not going properly. Things have suddenly become dark. I mean, he just raised Lazarus from the dead. And now he's preparing for his own funeral. How can the Lord of the resurrection prepare for death? Is there something he's not getting? And why does it have to be done in such a public way? Remember that for John, the Last Supper, it's not as much about the symbols of the bread and the wine as it is about the basin and the towel. Servanthood, humility. What Mary is demonstrating, he will call all the disciples to demonstrate.